We've all seen the movies. We'd been conditioned to wait for the blinding light, the sudden appearance of wings, or the kind of supernatural event that stops time and leaves no room for doubt. And because your life hasn't looked like a Hollywood production, you might assume your house is spiritually quiet. You might feel like heaven is keeping its distance, or that you aren't holy enough to warrant a guard at your door. But the reality of God's messengers is often much heavier and much quieter than a film. The most profound signs aren't usually found in a spectacle. They show up in the unexplainable shift in the weight of a room. They appear in the protection you didn't even know you needed until the danger had already passed. They are found in the way your mind suddenly clears the moment you walk through your front door, even when the world outside is screaming. If you are May waiting for thunder, you are going to miss the very real covering that is already standing watch over your family. Before we look at how to recognize this, we need to clear the air. Your home is not a spiritual performance test. There is this heavy, unspoken idea that you have to reach a certain level of prayer warrior status before God dispatches help to your address. It creates a subtle anxiety. You start wondering if your house is clean enough, or if your faith is loud enough to attract heaven's attention. Let's set that down right now. A quiet home is not a godless home. If you haven't seen a vision or felt a physical chill, it does not mean you are being ignored. Spiritual protection is an act of grace, not a reward for an intense atmosphere. God protects his children because he is a father, not because you've checked enough religious boxes to earn a security detail. You don't need to perform to be covered. You just need to learn how to see what is already there. The reason we miss the reality of spiritual help usually comes down to using the wrong lens. Most of us fall into one of two extremes. On one side, there is total dismissal. You experience a near miss on the highway, or you feel a deep peace in the middle of a family crisis, and you call it luck or coincidence. You explain away the spiritual because you're afraid of sounding Vien Vong or irrational. On the other side, there is the obsession. This is where every flickering light or every random number on a clock becomes a coded message from the third heaven. When we live there, we aren't practicing discernment. We are practicing a search for a high. Both of these frameworks fail us. One shuts the door on God's involvement, and the other turns faith into a scavenger hunt. What we need is a calmer, grounded way to see the actual fruit of heaven in our private spaces. Instead of looking for something strange, start looking for what your home is producing. The primary job of an angelic presence isn't to entertain us, it's to minister to us. Think about the last time you walked into your house after a brutal day. Your mind was spinning with anxiety. But the moment you crossed the threshold, something shifted. The noise in your head didn't just stop, it felt like it was being held back at the door. That is a functional sign. It's a spiritual covering, creating a sanctuary for your soul to breathe. Then, notice the delays that felt like interruptions. We get so frustrated when we lose our keys or get a phone call that keeps us from leaving on time. But through a God lens, that delay might be a silent redirection. It could be a messenger holding you back so you aren't at a specific intersection at a specific moment. Or notice when certain people who bring chaos suddenly lose access to your life. The plans just stop working out for them to come over. That isn't social luck, it's a guarded atmosphere. When your home becomes a place where prayer is easier and harm is hindered, you are seeing the most reliable evidence of heaven's involvement. Now, what about the unusual things? A sudden scent of flowers in a room with no plants, a light that catches your eye in an empty hallway, a repeating impression that feels like more than math. It is okay to notice these things. You don't have to be a skeptic who demands a laboratory explanation for every moment of wonder. But you must hold them lightly. The question is never just, did I feel something? The real question is, what fruit did that moment produce? If a sensory event leads you to deep gratitude, a pull toward prayer, or a sense of God's nearness that humbles you, then receive it as a kindness. God knows we are physical creatures, and sometimes He speaks to our senses. But if those same signs lead you to panic, or if you start chasing them like a drug, you need to step back. Angels always point toward the glory of God, never toward the phenomenon itself. If the sign makes you obsess over the sign, it isn't coming from the source you think it is. So, how do you live in this awareness without becoming superstitious? It's a simple rhythm. First, just notice. Stop explaining away every moment of unearned peace or every timely intervention as just a coincidence. Just acknowledge that it happened. Second, linger. When you feel that shift in the atmosphere, that sense of being covered, don't just rush past it to check your phone. Stay in that peace for an extra 60 seconds. Third, pray. Don't spend an hour trying to name the angel or analyze the rank. Use the moment to talk to the Father. Say, "Father, thank you for the peace in this room right now." Finally, test the fruit. Is your home becoming a place where truth is spoken and grace is practiced? This keeps you spiritually open but mentally sharp. It keeps you from the extremes of being a cold skeptic or a frantic sign chaser. At the end of the day, the deepest sign that angels are in your house isn't something you see with your eyes. It's what your home is becoming. If your house is slowly turning into a place where the world's chaos cannot follow you, where your children feel a safety they can't quite describe, and where your first instinct is to turn toward heaven, then you have all the proof you need. You don't need to manufacture a miracle to believe you are cared for. Heaven is closer than you think, and the protection over your life is more active than you realize. This week, I want to invite you to do one thing. Notice one pattern, whether it's a moment of unexplainable peace or a delay that kept you from a headache, and just respond with a short prayer of thanks. Don't overanalyze it, just receive the covering, because you aren't alone in that house. You never have been.